In today's review, we're going to be talking about two items that are sure to change the weight of the stuff in your pockets. Welcome back to Shoe Lights. Today, we're going to be talking about the Olight O-Pen Glow, and we're also going to be talking about the new Brass Freedom Edition of the Arkfeld UV flashlight. This one we're going to be talking about at the end of the video, so if you want to see that, go ahead and use the chapter markers. Let's start with the main attraction, which is the new Olight O-Pen Glow. I've used several combination flashlight and pens in one, and they always are just not great pens and not great flashlights. This Olight O-Pen Glow is honestly the finest version I've used yet. Now, that's not to say that it is not without its little niggles, and we'll go over those, but I also want to state that if you already know that you're on the hunt for a flashlight pen, this is probably one of the best ones you can get for various thoughtful reasons. So let's jump right into the review. We'll start with the box. It comes in a cardboard box like this. I've already opened it up. Let's take the innards out and see what we get. So you're going to get on the inside the usual fare of, manuals and things like that. I'll set the manual aside because we're going to refer to it in a bit. But I also want to point out that in the side here, you have an extra refill. It comes with a black refill and a blue refill in the box. Well, one's in the pen, one's in the side of the box. It also comes with a little charging stand and a USB-C to C cable. And, people that disliked the charging pucks in other Olight products might like what they've kind of done here. Now, it is a proprietary charging puck, kind of, sort of, which, I don't know how you're going to get around that with a pen. I mean, you're not going to put, well, at least I don't think you should put a big gaudy USB-C port right on the side. So it makes sense that you would have its own little stand and charging cable in one. But what is so great is it is a USB-C standard. People love that. So this fits right in there as a stand, but it also charges, and I'll show that in a moment because I want to go over the stand kind of like a fine-tooth comb because it's a really great stand. This is one of the best things about this light. They put a lot of thought into this. So let's set these aside for now, set this box aside, and let's talk about the pen itself. Okay, so first off, I'm going to jump into the light functions of the pen, the flashlight functions, which, by the way, are excellent. First off, it has not one, but two light sources. The primary light source is, let me get a good focus here. The primary light source is right here on the clip. And that's an excellent place for it. And the reason why is because, now think about this. This is really smart. If you turn this guy on, and this is on the lowest right now, if it's in your pocket, it is now a right angle work light. Think about that. This sticks outside your pocket and you're illuminating things in front of you. It's just a really excellent idea because I've seen other pens put lights, near the tip or on the side or even on the back, but then it's shining up in your face if it's in your pocket. This turns it into a right angle light. Love that. Another thing that's really excellent about this pen is it has a complete UI. I just never see that with pens. This one, if you press and hold, it goes through the moonlight, if you will, low, medium, high. And the high is also, I guess, synonymous with turbo on this light because a double click goes straight to that high, okay? So it's a very easy operation. One click on, one click off, and you can go to that turbo or high from anywhere, even off, by double clicking. All right, so that's a really easy UI to use, and I appreciate that. It also has an electronic lockout. So if you press and hold for, I think, about 2 seconds here, there you go. It's now locked out. Now, another great thing about this is I loathe flashlights that are locked out and there's no way to tell. You're hitting the button, you just think it's dead. Well, on this one, you hit it and it's momentary. So that's really smart. To get out of lockout, you just press and hold until it flashes confirmation, and now your normal operation again, which will stay on, and you press and hold to go through the modes. All right. Now that is the main light on the pen. I measured the pen on my Lumen tube, and I found out that in the manual here, what they've stated, let's see if I can get a good focus on this, what they've stated is exactly accurate. I noticed that the moonlight, and I say moonlight in air quotes because it's 5 lumens, and that's a little bright for moonlight for me. Now, it might be okay though, because as you might expect, it is completely floody, a mule light experience, because there's no optic or reflector. It's just an LED under this little, I guess it's plastic, but there's a little window to protect it and just a bare LED. So even though it's 5 lumens, which for me is a little bit hot on the high side for a moonlight, it's so spread out that it feels lower lumens. But then the low is 20 lumens, and again, they nailed it. It's exactly 20 on my lumens tube. And then there's a medium at 60. Again, they nailed it. And then the high is 120. Exactly what I got on my lumen tube. Now, I didn't do any runtime testing, but with them nailing the lumens, I would expect that the runtimes we're seeing here on the piece of paper, 5 hours on moonlight, 45 minutes on the medium, I think it's safe to say it's going to be pretty close. So that's the main emitter, but there's actually a secondary emitter too. This main emitter is cool white, but down here at the tip, you have a warm white emitter for writing in total darkness. And what's cool about it is you don't have to think about how to operate it. All you do is use the bolt action on the side to open up the pen, hit the button on the back, and that same button that used to operate the flashlight on the clip now operates the light at the tip. And it's a very glowy light. It doesn't extend too far. And in this environment with my video lights on, you can't even, you can barely, there you go. You can barely see it. But there is about 1 lumen of light coming out at the tip. Now, it looks like it'd be really concentrated, and it kind of is. But if you're in total darkness, it is definitely wide enough to be able to write a sentence. So it's a really thoughtful addition to this pen to turn it into a device that you can use to write in the dark confidently. Another interesting thing to note is while the emitter on the clip here is cool white, the emitter on the tip is actually neutral white at about 4,000 degrees correlated color temperature. To turn it off, you can just hit the button on the back, but thoughtfully, if you retract the pen, it also turns off. Now, if you've just been thinking, hey, can I turn both emitters on at once? Olight's got you covered. You absolutely can. Just deploy the tip, turn it on. When that light's on, you got 2 ways to turn the side emitter on. One way is to press and hold, and there you go. It's on low, and this is on at the same time. Or the other way to do it, and by the way, when you click, they both go off. The other way to do it is, again, turn this on, then double click up here to go to turbo. As if this pen didn't have enough utility by having a pen and 2 different emitters in it, they also included a green laser pointer in the cap here on the end. So you activate it by grabbing the bolt action on the side and pushing towards the cap, and there you go. There is a green laser pointer, about the same intensity as included on the Arkfeld combination laser and flashlight. Okay, let's jump into the charging stand, cradle, whatever you want to call it. First off, you do not have to plug it in. You can literally just put the pen in there and use it as a stand if you like. Secondly, you do not have to use their USB-C to USB-C cable, the one that's included. I've got here a USB-C to USB-A cable, which is off camera, and it works on that as well. So no proprietary business. Notice that when I plug it in, it glows green. That's awesome that it lights up right away. Shows you that you've got a solid connection and that the cradle is ready. Now, all you do is take the pen and just drop it in. You see it goes red, signifying it's charging. And green will signify that it's fully charged. Here is something super thoughtful. Okay, you ready? This charge, once it goes green, will sit green for just a couple of minutes. I don't know exactly how many, but just a couple of minutes, and then it goes black. So, if you're charging your pen overnight and you walk back and you see that the cradle is black, never fret. That's on purpose. That's probably so that you can just dock your pen and not have this thing glowing at you all the time. It's kind of cool that it'll give you indication that it's charging, indication that's fully charged, but it's not going to stay glowing all the time. I actually dislike it, especially for something like this, when it's glowing at me all the time. Another really cool thing, it's completely magnetic, so you can actually stick it to things. And as long as you have the cradle horizontal or some degree of upwards, you can insert the pen and start charging. I was clicking this onto a metal cabinet I have and inserting the pen like this, and it was charging fine horizontally. So if you want to somehow, use wall space, go for it. It works without problem. Okay, so I love this as a flashlight. Now let's talk about it as a pen. And I'll tell you right away that it's pretty good as a pen. It's not excellent, but it's pretty good. So it's definitely the best combo pen flashlight I've seen, but let's talk about some of its shortcomings as a pen. And it's not a bad pen, it's just I'm kind of picky about my pens, and let's get into that now. So first off, let's just take a look at size here. Here is 3 pens that I've carried for about a year each. And they're all full-size pens. These are not mini pens. But you can see that the O pen is considerably longer than all the pens, including the Karas. And the Karas is my longest pen. And you see the Karas is about the same height across like this, but the button adds length, and then the O pen's even longer than that. So that's one thing you should know. Now, it's not obscenely long, and when I hand it to people without any size reference, I noticed that the people I handed the O Pen Glow to did not notice that it was a gigantic pen. However, these were not, pen people. So if you're really used to fine pens, I think you'll notice it pretty quickly when you pick it up that this is on the large side. Now, secondly, it's kind of a large diameter. So if you look at a really large diameter pen like this Prometheus pen here, and I do like this for some chonk and some width, but the O pen is about the same width, and for something that's not solid copper, it's surprisingly similar in weight, So just something to think about. Another thing I'm going to point out too is that all these pens are really excellent because when you measure where their center of gravity is, their center of gravity is usually pretty near the middle, and so that when you hold them, where the middle is going to be in front of the webbing of your finger, which gives a really great writing experience to have it in between your fingers and the webbing. That's where you want the center of gravity. Now, the fact of the matter is with the O pen, it's pretty heavy on the back here. And the reason why is because the battery and everything needed to operate the flashlight portion is in this top part. So since the battery and everything is up here in the back, it's a little back heavy. Let me show you where that center of gravity is. It's like somewhere right in here, I think. It's right there. It's right about there. And the fact of the matter is, so if it's right in front of this blue line, look where I'm holding the pen. That means that the center of gravity is outside the webbing of my hand. And it does feel like it. It feels like it's kind of got weight back here. I wouldn't say it's unwieldy. I wouldn't say it's uncomfortable. But as soon as I pointed it out to people kind of, it's funny, is people were pretty apologetic for it. They'd say, well, yeah, but that's because that's where the battery is, right? So everyone knew why. But it still doesn't make for a super satisfying writing experience. I am happy to say that it writes super well. I've got a bunch of different refills in these pens. This one happens to be a super fine gel point. So you can see how tiny it is. Okay. Now, this one has actually a Mont Blanc refill in it. That's thicker. Got a little skip there. I have not scratched these pens. Actually, this pen I haven't used for about 6 months. So it's actually a testament to how well it writes, that it was writing after 6 months of non-use. Okay? And that one's a little bit thicker, but still kind of fine point. The Karas, I think we got a 1.0 in here, and it's purple as well. Okay, so they all write pretty good, and I'm happy to report that the blue that I have in the O pen here writes really well. So, great writing experience. I didn't have any skips. I did notice that if I kind of pause for a second, with the standard rollerball in there, you got a little bit of a thick, point on your line. That's pretty standard for a rollerball that's ink, not gel. But also, for lefties and stuff, notice that most of this it's not going to smear. Now, I will notice that where you stop, so like where I just stopped right there for a second, that does smear where it's a little bit extra, okay? So here, let me just make sure. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty good, it's not bad. It's not bad. But, there you go. So that the writing experience I found to be very good for a low-cost pen. And I do consider this a low-cost pen because, most of these pens here were in the $200+ range. This one wasn't. This is around $100. But, this guy, at the time of the sale, and that's really the only time you should be buying these things, is, let me double check. Yeah, it's $55 by itself. Now, that might seem expensive for a pen. It doesn't to me. It doesn't to me at all. But for a flashlight and pen, that's a pretty good price, $55. And what's really great, too, is, and let me push this aside for a second and show you, that in addition to the pen by itself, you can also get, let's see right here, got a bundle that's the pen and an i3T for $61. So to me, the i3T coming in at $6, I think that's worth more than $6. So it kind of feels like it's dropping the price of the O Pen Glow a little bit. And this is actually a good point to talk about the fact that the O Pen comes in different finishes. You can get it in black like you see that I'm using. A limited edition stars and stripe that only made 2023. That's the year. And we got an OD green and then a blue. And the blue is a very vibrant blue. Okay, now there's one last thing that if you are a pen connoisseur, you want to know about, and that is the refill itself. So the refill it comes with is fine, but what if I'm really partial to quick dry gel or something like that? So what refill does it use? Well, I was looking at the refill and checking JetPen's guide to refills just to make sure I was right about this. And the truth of the matter is that I hate to report this, but I believe this to be a proprietary refill. If you look at the codes on the side here, where are they? There you are, dinky. It says RF-OL182XBL, or BK for black. Now, I looked that code up, and the only thing that came back was, in fact, the O-Light refills. And I took my calipers, I measured the diameter, the length, all that, and I used this guide. And the problem is that this refill is longer than this Lamy M22. This is about 6 centimeters long, and this guy is about 7.2. So that is not an effective replacement. And even if it was, let's face it, when I use my pens, there's pretty much only 2 refills I like, and that is the Parker style and the G2 or Euro style. And these two are considerably bigger and longer than what the O Pen is using. So that's kind of a ding that you should know about. Now, if you're not a major pen head and you think that the refills that it comes with are fine, then that's not a major problem. And I also want to point out that when you buy your pen on the sale, you should pick up the refills then, because you can get 3 extra refills for $3, so $1 a refill. So I understand the idea of wanting longevity, wanting to have the ability to put in refills for quote ever. But let's face it, it's got a battery. The battery's non-user serviceable. You're not going to have this pen forever. This is something you're going to use for like a year or two. And I think if you get, 2 packs of refills, you're good. You'll probably lose the pen or break the pen before you go through all your refills. So it might be a non-issue. I also want to point out that they've been selling these like on Amazon for years now, usually about $8 for 3. So it's better to get it at the time of the sale. Let me go ahead and give you my one-line conclusion, which is I think it is an excellent flashlight with an okay pen, not an amazing pen. So if you're a flashlight guy that has a little bit of need to carry a pen, then you're going to love this. If you do a lot of documents all day long and you really love pens, this might not satisfy your needs for, pen lust. Don't forget to look in the description of my video for links to the bundles. And remember, that's when you buy Olight stuff, right? You always buy it during the sale, and the sale starts in 2 days now. So go ahead and look in those description for the links for the bundles. All right, let's finish up this video by talking about the new edition of the Arkfeld UV, which is called the Freedom Brass Edition. It's limited edition, it's sure to sell out, so make sure you get it in the sale that's coming up if you want it. So if you want to see my full review about the Arkfeld, because I've reviewed this light several times now, both the laser edition, the UV version, titanium, the aluminum, click up here right now for this link to see a full review about its operation. And that's specifically this UV version that I've got in my hand here. You can see it's got a white light, and you switch it, and you got a UV light. This is a really good flashlight. And then, honestly, if you want something that feels well made, something that feels like it's going to last, this brass edition just gives it that kind of meaty metallic chunk that just, it's so satisfying. I can't really explain it. It's got the improved new clip, which is a two-way clip. It's not as rigid as it was before, yet it's still super grabby. And also notice that the tail end here is the new design, which is thinner than the old design. Still works on all the old magnetic chargings, but what happened is they just kind of shaved a little off the sides here so that it's less in your pocket. So I gotta say, if you don't mind extra weight, this feels super satisfying. I would get this brass edition all day long. Feels great. Be sure to look in the product description for some bundles of this light as well. All right, folks, thank you for watching this far, and I'm going to see you in the next video.